Welcome to Caching Waves. This is an Elliott Wave update for DOGWIFHAT. I'm out on a daily chart on CoinX. Now, if you've been following along, I got a comment yesterday saying, wow, this is like magic. Sometimes it feels that way. It's only when you're on the correct path where it feels like you're nailing every pivot, which is nice when it's doing that, which it's currently doing. It's just nice when you get it right the first time. Sometimes these counts have to be adjusted and you have to adjust in real time, but it appears we've been on the right path since the beginning on this one. We got no divergence currently. We have the most volume currently in our third wave, which is ideal, so everything's panning out as expected. If you watch my rune video, I suggested putting on the 618 extension of 1 through 3 to target our fifth wave in the third, and we'll see what we get. But if our fourth wave comes back as expected between the 236 and 382, it depends where this pivot ends up. As you can see, if we hit our 0.618 extension of wave 1 through 3 off the fourth, you can kind of reverse engineer things to see what ideal would be. And if we get an extension in our third, we'd be targeting the 1.618 in blue, which is up just under $5. And that would take us basically to about 105 if we get our WXY here, or our C wave in 5 down. So the ideal pivot, if we're going to hit this 1.618 in blue and we get an extended fifth wave, is around 105. Now nothing says we have to get that. Alternatively, our targets would be just between like about 325 if we're just working off the green fib level, but that's how we get up to that $5, and it would be almost ideal. We just have to see what reaction we get at the edge of this pitchfork. So this is where you can miss a lot of the move if you're not paying attention to that. So go down to the smaller time frames. Just keep in mind we're in the middle of this fourth wave, which we're trying to map out. Now I'm tracking that on MEXC. Been a very complex structure. So this was our third wave, had wave 1 and 2, second 1 and 2, third came past the 0.618. I then pulled our fifth in that third came to the 2.618, then got our fourth. Then I pulled our 1 through 3 off our fourth, the exact way I showed you, and we actually passed the 1-to-1. So that's how those extensions can happen. You're expecting the fifth wave to end right here, and you expect the impulse to end kind of right here, and you get a nice correction, but you don't get that sometimes. So you have to be very aware. Otherwise you miss out on that whole move, right? So as of right now, have this as our fifth wave, up around just under $2, and we've been making a very complex structure. It's been following along quite nicely. You just have to have patience and be aware that it should come. Again, we put our time fib from the beginning of this third wave, and we've been expecting it to complete in this zone. If you've watched my videos, you know all the way through this I put on how we could be complete here, but the guidelines usually pan out that we come to this zone between the 618 and the 1-to-1. Just got to have patience. There was nothing really impulsive looking here, so you kind of let the wave fill out and then readjust your count, especially if you're getting a lot of 3 waves and it's getting very complex. So not much has changed here. We finally came up to our B zone. And as of right now, we can target a little bit better because I'd put that as our high. You'll have to adjust these counts based on whatever chart you're on would exchange, but this one's MEXC. So ideally that 1-to-1 would come down to about 128. Remember that 618 extension is 105, so we might get some overthrow. We'll see what happens. And the alternative count I'm mapping is a triangle. We're in a fourth wave, remember? We can get triangles as well. But both of these cases, we protect this A wave low, or W wave you have mapped out here at basically $1. So we'll see what happens. Again, if this turns into a expanded flat, we can take out that W wave, but for trading purposes, that's where my stop is. I'd look for a re-entry because I look for position size here. So if we're getting that Y wave or C wave, minimum requirements I'd put, we go to linear, it's about 190, but ideally we hit the 1-to-1, at least on linear, which is 155. We're going to map this out, see if we get a clean 5 waves. We want it to take about the same amount of time as this W or A wave. So I can put that on for you. Let's get the exact pivots. This is a guideline, remember, but it just builds up our confidence that the correction is potentially complete. And this one, it can go a little faster, it can take a little longer. C waves are a little more troublesome. You can get a fast drop, or we can get a drawn out correction. We'll have to see what we get. But you can see we're in both zones coming in. I'd like to see either the 1-to-1 or the 1.618. I hate when we just get really quick ones to the 0.618, where these just draw out really quick. Reason being, you're not as confident. That's the reason. But you still take the trade, but you're just not as confident, right? So we want a similar length wave in time as this one here. That 1-to-1 is on Monday, March the 1st. So we'll see what we get. But what's nice in both these scenarios I mentioned to last time is whether it's the C wave or the Y wave, we protect this low. And if we end up making a 3-wave structure here, and we start to move up, we also are aware that this could be a triangle. So in both scenarios, the stop goes here. And if this does pan out, we can move our stops as we go, buy the breakout, stop at that E, and leverage up. But I'll explain those scenarios in a later video when it's necessary, because we have a little more time to eat out this correction here. This looks like a double 3 complex combo for our B or X wave. So hey guys, looks good. Want to protect this W wave low. Ideal we hit 105, remember, for that 618, but I wouldn't expect us to do that. Somewhere in this zone, the 618 and the 1-to-1. And if we pivot off, I can actually get rid of this. This doesn't really make sense anymore. Adjust it over to here, because that's our B wave. This doesn't have to pivot from this area. This is just for me to pay attention to, see what happens at this channel line. So if we hit the 1-to-1 off the channel there on Monday at 128.50, and we start to pivot up, we can say, all right, that looks good, right? It's just more to pay attention to. All right, guys, so that is it for DOGWIFHAT. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and we're getting closer to a finish. And obviously, if we break with any sort of thrust below that W or A wave, we have to recount this entire thing. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.